When I was 19 years old, I was really sick for quite a long time. For over a year, I stayed home. I had a disease that made me lose a lot of weight. Before I got sick, I was about 160 pounds, which I know isn't even that heavy. But when you were me, that was a pretty good weight, as I was kind of now done high school. But my disease that I had caused me to lose about 40 pounds. I went down about 120 in about 1 year's time. And I'd only go to the doctor every 2 to 3 months for a checkup. I was on medication to see how I was doing. I really wasn't doing that well. But every time I would go to the doctor, I would wear baggy clothes because I could hide how I really looked. And he never did a physical. I just, even looking back on that now, I just, kind of wonder at times why he didn't. But it's because he trusted me in terms of what I said back to him. In fact, in a roundabout way, I was lying to him. I really wasn't doing very well, but I felt like I didn't want to have to risk what he might say if he knew I was really sick, what other kind of tests I might have to go through, what he'd want for surgery. I wasn't sure, so I just continued to wear baggy clothes when I saw him. I would lie to him. I would make him think one thing even though it wasn't true at all. It wasn't until my parents finally kind of caught on to what I was doing that my dad came in to one of my appointments, and he asked the doctor if he would do kind of like a full look over on me just to really see how I was doing. And I had to change out of my clothes, and the doctor then said he was really worried for me. But it wasn't until I decided to finally show him the truth of what was happening when things got better. It's funny how that is. Sometimes we think the lie is going to make things okay, but it's the lie that actually gets in the way, and the lie can make things worse. We spend a lot of time these days on the internet, more than most of us would care to admit to, if we're honest. And there's a lot of information out there. I remember when the internet first came about, I was a teenager when that happened. It was a big deal. I remember in grade 7, we had a computer lab, and it was one of the first times in a junior high school there was a lab like that where you could go and sit down at computers that had that kind of capability of the internet back then. And it was a place where you could go to find all kinds of information. You could find whatever you wanted was on the internet. And that's still true today, but it's not entirely true that everything you read on there is true anymore. You have to be really careful. I find it funny that as a kid, I remember being told that you can't always trust everything you hear. We've forgotten about that at some point. We see the internet now quite different. We think because it's online, because someone's sitting there with a video camera, because it looks fancy, that it must be true. We believe a lot of things a lot of the time that aren't very true. This is the way that kind of the world looks anymore. Truth is actually what you want it to be, really. It doesn't even matter if it's actual factual truth anymore. If you really think it's true, then it's true. And no one can tell you different, which is so weird because that never used to be how things worked. But, things have shifted so much in the last 15, 20 years, where truth is more subjective. Truth doesn't matter if everyone agrees with you. Truth matters because it's true to you. So therefore, it must be true. When I read the Bible, and in particular Jesus. He was a man of truth. Like, he was not afraid of truth too. How many times, can you read through the Gospels and he says things that are sharp to people, and they're sharp because they're true. Like, not because he's just being mean or a jerk to people. Like, that's not his way. But his way is to be truthful, really truthful, to the point where it stings people. In the book of John, chapter 4, he meets a woman by a well who, she shows up there in the middle of the day to get water. Now, if you were around back then, though, to get water, you wouldn't go in the middle of the day, because that's when it's hottest. Like, you'd go in the morning when it's cool. Like, you wouldn't go then. But she's going then because she has to go then. She has a lot of things in her life that she's really ashamed of, that she's been hiding from people. But most of the town knows. So she goes where she doesn't have to face questions, where she doesn't have to be judged. She goes in the middle of the day when no one else is around there. But Jesus knows, he knows that she's going to be there. So he shows up, middle of the day, and they start a conversation. And he asks her for water. And she says, well, I'm sure, I guess I can get you a cup of water if you want to, or, why would you ask me to get you water? They have this long conversation, but he eventually basically says to her that he knows what her life has been like, that she's not only been, though with someone now she's not married to, but she's been with 5 other men previous to the guy she's living with now. She had no idea that he knew that about her. He cuts right through the lies and all the garbage and speaks truth to her and says, I know the way you've been living isn't great, and I know what you've been doing has caused you pain and heartache. And that's the thing about when we choose not to embrace truth, when we choose to listen to the lies, and when we choose to think that what's true is up to us, is it's actually hard on our souls. Like, I don't think we were made for that. I don't think you were made just to simply listen to lies, and I don't think you were made to think that you can invent truth. Like, if that's the case, then I think people would be happier. But I think we're miserable more than we'd like to admit, because we don't really embrace truth the way that God wants us to embrace truth. And, I think about all the time how much different our lives would be and where our joy would be if we paused and stopped all of the lies that we are all listening to and taking in. And what if we really embraced the truth of Jesus? What if we really read the Bible the way that he wants us to? What if we stopped looking at him and assuming that he's wrong about us? Because as I can tell, he lived a life full of joy and full of peace and contentment. And he knew who he was, and he spoke truth all the time.